Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like it's louder now, right? Awesome. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to the organizer of this conference, Elijah and the team. I was here last year, and the venue is getting better. The audience is getting bigger. The lineup of speakers are also getting better. So it's something to please put your hands together for them. Awesome. Unlike 3 years ago, I was in advertising. I decided to pivot into tech. Money was the motivation. There was no doubt about it. I absolutely love the fact that they were earning in dollars, and I was really tired of earning in naira. I had the foresight that at some point naira was going to be about 1,005. So before it gets there, I said, let me stack my dollar, right? So, and I'm excited about this topic. We are going to be looking at the Africa tech ecosystem, 1 year in review, and how to build from Africa. Over the past couple of years, the tech startup or the tech ecosystem in Africa has faced these challenges. We don't always smile in our Ferrari, to be sincere, most especially in the last 1 year. We've seen a lot of drop in funding. We are also going to be exploring topic around remote work. How does Nigeria or Africa tech system attract and retain talent, knowing that you're competing with companies from Canada, the UK, the US, who are paying huge amount of money, to our tech talent? How are we able to keep this set of people? And most importantly, we are looking at tech companies that have raised fund and they've closed shop, the way I call them. In the tech ecosystem, we call them the tech grave, right? What happened to these companies, and how do we make sure that startup founders that are found in the room, we are able to mitigate against issues like this and avoid that pitfall? Earlier introduced, I would allow my panel to please introduce themselves again, because nobody does that better than you. I lead growth at Bitnob. We are a payment infrastructure company that enables payment into mobile money wallets and bank accounts across Africa. We are presently in 8 African countries: the US, Canada, Australia, Vietnam, and Portugal. I would allow my panelists to please introduce themselves, tell us your name, what you do, and the icebreaker would be, what's that one thing that keeps you up at night, right? Starting from Marvin.
Can you hear me? All right, can you hear me? Why isn't it working? Actually, get this alone. All right, let's come holding this. Can you hear me now? I want to quickly say thank you to the organizers for this opportunity. My name is Marvin Uche. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hala. Hala is a fintech, and our purpose is to figure out how to help people make money. So I'm one of the only fintechs in Nigeria that focuses on helping people make money.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Once again, thank you to the organizers. This has been so insightful, and I've learned a lot, especially from the last panel session. My name is Beatrice, and I'm the CEO at Brand Drive. And at Brand Drive, well, we don't help you make money. We help you manage your money and actually give you the resources to manage your money better and actually gain insights and understanding about how you're spending your money, either as a business owner, an employee of the business, or even your personal finances. So help you manage your personal finances and also give you AI-powered insights and business intelligence. Thank you.
Everyone, good morning. Can you hear me? No, it's slow.
Can you hear me now? Yes, this is better. So first of all, before I introduce myself, I just want to piggyback on what Robert said and say a big well done to Elijah and his team. So I was at the event last year as a fangirl. My husband was speaking and I came to support him. And just working in today, I was so impressed. Definitely the growth, the quality of speakers, the amazing hosts, everything is a lot better. So well done to everyone who has put this together. So to answer the question of what I do, I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you here own businesses? You own a business, a fashion business, catering, freelancer. Why are you laughing? It's not a business. You have shop. Okay. Yes, please, if you own something that provides value to another person and makes you money, Raise up your hand with pride. Oh my God, wow. So let's say about 60% of this hall is filled with people who own businesses. So what I do basically, in Nigeria, there are about 40 million people like you who own businesses, micro, small businesses, startups, and so on, right? And you create 84% of the jobs in Nigeria are being created by people like you. So put your hands together for yourself. You should be very proud of yourself. And over almost 50% of the country's GDP is being created by people like you who are creating value for others and earning from it. However, only 4%, so if there are 10 of you here, only like if you put one person and cut the person into half, only that half, like representing 4%, can access financing, especially debt financing or even grants, which is a lot more competitive. So what I do basically is enabling more businesses like you access the funding that you need to grow. So part of the way we do that is through Thrift Africa that promotes financial inclusion, financial literacy, and access to finance for micro and small businesses. I also work with accelerators supporting African founders become investment ready, because the reason why some of you are not able to access funding is not because you do not have an amazing idea or because the money is not there, but because you're not investment ready. And so my job is to enable more people have the money that they need to grow their business.
Yeah, okay, great. So we'll go into the crux of things now, and since we are talking about tech, I think it would be great for us to start with data, right? Let's highlight some of the things that happened in 2023 within the ecosystem. The total number of funds raised by African startup in 2023 is 1.6 billion. Compared to last year, we've raised about 2.8 billion, so that's about a 46% decline. So the data from the past 3 years, I've seen 33% decline quarter on quarter and about 50% decline yearly, right? So it still works. Nigeria startup has raised about $179.5 million, which is also about 36% decline from last year. Egypt has raised the most, followed by Kenya, then South Africa. This is very interesting. Startup with 2 founders are more likely to raise than startup with 3 founders, 1 founders, and 4 founders. So we can see the essence of collaboration, especially when you're building tech. And the last one is over 27 startups in Africa funded over $1 million as shut down in 2023. And that's quite painful. I really don't like to mention names, especially when you see like a startup close up, and that is where we should start our conversation from. So my first question will go to Beatrice. Yeah, so in terms of funding, how does startup founder mitigate against the issue of closing shop, right? And what are the insights you've learned over the years, and how can startup founders in the room learn from this?
So I would say the first issue is most startups are eager to burn cash. And that might be the root of most of the problems they end up facing. So let's use a scenario. You receive $500,000 in funding. And then most Nigerians, the next thing they're looking at is how do we increase expenses? Maybe upgrade the founder's lifestyle. He gets a new car. Maybe the office moves to a better place, a better office. And over time, you realize that they are just burning cash flow way faster than they should. So the first thing companies and founders can actually look into is, one, I would say investors' money is not really a payback for the money you have invested into the company. It's not a way for you to reap the benefits of what you've put into the company. Investors' money is supposed to be extra boost to actually ensure that you have a longer lifetime for the company. That's one. And it's also to enable growth. So growth can be expansion into new markets, new locations, and other just growth activities. So rather than look for a way to, rather than spend those money on expenses that might not actually bring back revenue into the company, you should focus more on growth activities. So I would say, in summary, just don't burn cash flow that fast. That's basically it.
Awesome. I absolutely agree with you when it comes to the issue of burn rate. I think a lot of startup founders start looking at the bank when they realize that they only have like 6 months runway or they have like 8 months runway. And you know that at that point, it's either we make profits or we close in the next 8 months. So for any startup person who is in the house, like she said, the money invested in your company is absolutely not your money, right? A lot of people have that feeling to say, okay, it was invested in this so company, so let's open the next big office, let's buy MacBook for all our employers, and let's start, expanding to the markets that we don't necessarily need to be in. And my next question will go to Marvin. What are the indices that shows that a startup is struggling, and what should a startup founder look at doing immediately when they found out that their runway is almost over?
All right, can you hear me clearly? I think it's much better when it's not loud. All right. First thing I would like to say is I think all the things that have happened in the tech ecosystem this year are very good problems. Very good problems for the ecosystem. So everything I want to say here is from a standpoint of me learning a lot, like from my personal failures a lot. So I'm not, Hala is not Paystack. Hala is not Flutterwave, so I'm not in Boeing. So I'm learning, I'm coming from a failures perspective and reorientation perspective. So I've learned a lot in the past 2 years. So first thing, we need to forget that we are startups. Erase the name, startups. As a tech company, forget you're a tech company, remove the tech name. You're a business. So compare yourself to somebody that is selling spare parts in Ladipo, or somebody that is selling selling iPhone in Banex. You're the same thing. You're literally working in the same market, think the same way, you're serving the same type of people, or even though you're selling granules on the road. Yeah, it's the same mentality that you should have. So when we first take away all these barriers, it's easier to think clearly. You're running a Naira business. You don't need $500,000. Yeah, it's a Naira business. And just using simple numbers, if you're a team of 5 people and you figure out how to make 1,000 Naira from 5,000 people every week, you're a mightily successful business. That's if you're comparing yourself to somebody at Banex. Just think about it. You're making 1,000 Naira, that's 5 million Naira every week. In a month, you're making 20 million Naira. That's an investable business. So I think all that is happening right now is to prepare us for local investments, because I don't think we can survive with just foreign investments, because you are thinking from different lenses. They don't understand the market that we are in. Yeah, so if you want to build an Uber in Nigeria, you're thinking about totally different things. For someone to build an Uber in Nigeria, you need billions of dollars to waste, because Uber is not profitable. And if you're spending lots of money, you don't have those, comparing a mature market to a budding market. There's money to be made in Nigeria. So if you compare yourself to people like Habib Yogurt, or people that are selling granules, biscuits, those are big businesses, yeah? So you can build a big business in Nigeria, live in Nigeria, and impact other people, and then figure out how to take the problems that you already have and export it to another nation. So but we need to, that's what I really, really need to just emphasize, that we need to reorientate the way we think about our businesses. So rather than compare yourself to a Flutterwave, compare yourself to a Granite business. Compare yourself to a Diola Shajo. Know your market. Yeah, compare yourself to somebody that's setting up a shopping mall. People are building fuel stations in Nigeria, and they are making so much money. People are in real estate, and they're making so much money. These are real-life problems that people have. So we've forgotten how to solve the problems around us and looking at global problems. Okay, for example, one of the things I'm noticing right now is that we are looking at AI as a solution to Africa's problems. I don't think it is. That's because you are putting the tech first before our problems. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Am I making sense? We are looking at the tech. I try not to even mention that I'm a tech company, like a tech company anymore, because how would AI help somebody reduce, for example, if I come to school and say, oh, education is expensive now, going to university is expensive, so public university education has increased from 200,000 naira, I think it was like 15,000 naira, I think. There was a time when it was 15,000 naira session. And now people cannot afford to pay 200,000 naira. But we figured out how to use AI to reduce that cost to 5,000 naira a month. and you can do this for 1 million people. That's a big business. If I have 1 billion naira, I will give it to you. It's simple. So, and I didn't talk about AI. I'm an AI first company. I've just figured out how to reduce the cost of education and made it more accessible to more people in Nigeria. So I think there's big business to make in Nigeria. So I think that's to address the problem. So into my own question about knowing when, your burn rates, you should know your burn rates. Just like if you think again, like a grandma's business, she will know when her burn rate is going low. Do you understand? Because her business, okay, this is an example. I have a friend in Ghana. His business, app is growing. He messaged me that his app is growing by 10,000 users a month. But he cannot handle the influx on resources. I'm like, if your business is growing by 10,000 users a month and your business is not making money, then you don't need 10,000 users a month. Figure out how to make money from 500 users. Because if 500 users are giving you money that you need to sustain your business, then you will know when to grow from 500 users to 1,000 users, and those 1,000 users are paying for the resources. Because the point of tech in everything that we do is to reduce the cost of solving a problem. That's the point of tech. Tech is meant to reduce the cost. For example, the cost of building a shopping mall in one location, you most likely spend at least 2 billion naira. It's a lot of money. But if you can use tech to build a shopping mall that will most likely cost you just 100 million naira, it is tech is meant to reduce the cost of running a am I making sense? Yeah, so that's the issue with burn rate. So it means that we need to rethink the way we think about our businesses, our companies, trash all the mindsets. Because ultimately, if Africa needs to be where we need it to be, we need to think the way God wants us to think about this. And we need to be successful entrepreneurs, having a strong mindset about the way we see the people around us. Focus on local problems. I think if you focus on more local problems, thinking like a regular groundnut business or a regular person in Barnex, I think we're going to build big businesses that will expose. Because those people abroad that were trying to copy, it was their local problems they were solving. Do you understand? It was a local problem. So that's my answer to that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, I think we should. I want us to stay on that. You mentioned two things that are pretty important. One of them is the metrics. What people think are great metrics, but are really balancing metrics in startup. Over time, I've been consulting for a couple of startups, and they are very acquisition driven. But when I look at your burn rate, you have 95%. Sorry, your churn rate, you have 95% churn rate. Your active users are about just 6% of the entire 1 million people you have on your platform. Your first transacting users are transacting almost after 2 months of downloading your app, right? So there is really nothing great apart from the fact that you have the indices of, I have like 1 million users on my platform, which I really think can be good, most especially if you are able to retain about 60% of them. But if you are churning, as the way that 10 people are downloading your platform, 9 of them will never open the platform again after downloading it, right? That's never a great metrics. And you also talked about funding in Nigeria, looking at funding internally, right? And I would like to direct the question to you. How do we get, because a lot of founders don't like to get funded by Nigerian VCs, right? Most especially those who insist on, I mean, their rules and regulations are just way too much, right? They are the ones that come to ask for startup reports or business reports almost every 2 weeks. Unlike the guys abroad that 6 months, 3 months, they are good, right? So how do we solve the issue of getting internally funded?
What you're mentioning about requesting for constant reports is one of the reasons why we are where we are, right? So I was discussing with a friend. Can everyone hear me?
Now. Okay. So I was discussing with a friend last week, someone from CC Hub, and he was talking about some of the startups that have come from CC Hub. And I drew a correlation that most startups that have come from incubations, like the CC Hub and all of that, we've barely heard any bad news of them closing down. And you are talking about local versus international investors and how the international investors will not ask you for reports up to 6 months. That lack of corporate governance is one of the key things that has contributed to the failures that we are seeing. So yes, the local investors may be harsher on you, but that's because most of them own firms and they report to higher funding partners, and their success is in you being able to bring back that money. So there are various reports that show that international investors investing in Nigeria are just playing around. They're not really committed to the growth of the African ecosystem. For them, it's research and development, right? And there are so many papers that speak to this. So even just going back to what Beatrice and Marvin has said, one of the key problems or key things that we've learned in this last 1 year is the importance of corporate governance. And corporate governance is in who are you reporting to, right? And the people that you're reporting to, and that structure that they create for you to provide this report really puts you in the position to continue to think innovatively. So whether you own a startup or you own an MSME, who are the people that you are reporting to? Where is the community that you are a part of, right? And that's why I always encourage businesses to be part of incubators, accelerator programs that are going on, and also get a board of advisors. It doesn't need to be formal, but the thing is, if you know that you would need to tell someone what your burn rate was last month or what your revenue was last month, chances are you will be in a better position to actually put in the work to share a good result. So in 2020, we had a famous startup in Abuja that someone was asking on a group the other day and was saying, oh, all the startups in this industry, I'm going to try and not mention names, all the startups in this industry are folding up. Why is this one still standing? And I remember that in 2022, there was a major media issue, major scandal around that startup. But it was that board of advisors who were local investors that really stood around them, revamped the management, solicited for the right funding to bring them out of their place. So yes, external investment may be easier, but you also need to be honest with yourself. If you're building a business for the long term, you need to put yourself in a position where you can be challenged. Someone can easily walk into your office and speak to your colleagues, your employees, and really get the true situation of things, and you are put in a position for accountability. So that is corporate governance, and it's something that we are going to see more of, especially with all the issues that has happened in the last few months.
Well said, awesome. We have less than 10 minutes, so I want us to be fast. Next question is to Beatrice. Let's talk about the issue of the JAPA syndrome, especially within the tech ecosystem. There has been growing numbers of Nigerian tech professionals wanting to look for opportunities abroad, or those who just work in Usetu or Yaba, but their office address is in San Francisco, right? How can local companies compete with these people?
I don't think local companies can compete, because let's be truthful, the Naira can't compete against the dollar. So there's really no competition there. But I think this will be more directed towards the talents now. Be willing to grow within the country. So while we obviously know that we can compete against the value you would get outside, because the Naira is sinking, and it's sinking fast. So it means that the value that a Nigerian employee can offer to you is actually sinking when compared to the value that an outside, maybe a Canadian company can actually offer to you. But I would say that we should strike a balance. So the balance might be, when you're starting out, obviously you need to grow and be willing to grow in Nigeria. And I would say, I'll give 2 reasons for that. Even though it's good, you can get a job maybe in Canada as quick as possible, also understand that you're competing against a lot more standards. So it means that someone, maybe a Canadian 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, who just sits on their laptop and learns tech, and the next 1 year can overthrow your position in that particular company. So what it means is that, one, your career at that moment is more volatile because you are in a higher standard, and that standard can be overtaken at any moment because they have more resources at their beck and call, and you don't have that. So one, be willing to grow within the country, and also understand that it's not really the employer's fault. we can't compete against the dollar. So while a Nigerian company that is making money and is willing to actually pay you the value of your worth, what we'll be able to offer you is a lot less compared to what they can offer you. But also understand the value of growing. Like Temi, I think it was Temi that mentioned it. When you are outside, you are going to be representing the country. So I would say let the country actually groom you a bit, which is by you getting those first jobs, maybe your first couple of jobs at the junior and mid-level. Still do that in Nigeria. And at the point where you're willing to, I don't think we can really solve the problem of JAPA, to be honest. I don't think so. So it's not a problem that we might be able to solve, but just understand the economies of the two fields. One, the first field you're playing with, and the second field you're trying to also play with. So understand both economies and actually pick one that will be better for you. And also understand that, well, money is everything, but it's not really everything. So there are things like stability, there are things like maybe your career development that you might also want to look at when you're trying to make a choice between both options. So that's the advice basically I have.
What's your thought around equity?
Equity in what sense?
In sense of, I'm joining your company. I know you probably won't be able to afford me as much as I want, but you're offering me equity.
Stock options.
Yes, stock options, yeah.
Okay. I think it's actually fair, and most, at least how stock options are structured is they have a validity period. So most likely they would say if you stay within the company for 5 years or 5 years plus. So I think that's also a good offer that most employees are actually willing to offer, that if they see that the value you're bringing into the company is going to match that particular stock options you're asking for. So I think she has what to say.
I 100% agree with you, but I also want to throw it to the other way, to the employee. 1 billion times 0 is what? Is 0, yeah. So I think that as employers, Inyi mentioned how he was willing to give out equity for the growth of the business, and then he's built a software. So imagine even Paystack employees, when they exited, I know people who were made for life and they only had like 0.2% of the company as employees. But also, if somebody's offering you equity in exchange for working in their company, remember that 1 billion times 0 is 0. So even going back to the question around supporting talents and retaining talents, like she said, it's a very difficult task. But something that I found that really helps is creating graduate trainee programs, if you can afford it, right? And creating an enabling work environment. Because for a lot of people, especially senior level talents, the reason why they're looking for international roles is even beyond the money. It is also the work environments that we create in the businesses that we are building. So do you respect people's time? Do you acknowledge their work? Are they properly compensated even within local standard? Also for you that tech bros, Texas that are very talented, looking for international roles, how are you paying it forward? So I was in Ogbomosho 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about all the amazing training. They have one of the biggest software academy that has trained a lot of people that have moved abroad, now earning $100,000 and so on. But they kept complaining about these people do not want to pay it back. So they don't want to invest in the community or invest in other people looking to learn the skill. So yes, you're going abroad, better work environment, but how are you paying it forward, right? Because at the end of the day, no matter where you go to in the world, this is still home. You will still be Benga from Ogun State or Benga from Nigeria. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't say so much, but I think this is something that is really important that you need to communicate. We need to learn how to be good leaders. And leadership is this. You can summarize leadership as inspiration, like how to inspire people. So you need to. I've gotten people work for me for free for years. Yeah. So if I paint a big vision for you, and if I paint a big vision for you, people want to be led. Yeah. And I don't look for the top talent, because top talents already know what they want. So look for people that want to grow with you. So paint a big vision. So if you look at Jesus, for example, just like we mentioned earlier. Jesus did not hire the smartest people to work with him, like his first disciples. They were not really the smart. He just painted a big picture. Oh, instead of instead of catching fish inside this water, you can catch people. That's a bigger vision. You shifted their mindset from how they were thinking to something much bigger. And then you grow with them. Even after Jesus left the earth, those people were still growing. Yeah, so they had not matured. So he didn't come from mature people. And all of us starting businesses, we need to think that way. So we need to, like I said, like forget about. I don't know why I'm really emphasizing this thing. Like forget about foreign companies, and think about your business like you're starting Habib yogurt. You only know how to sell Habib yogurt. You figured out how to sell your Habib yogurt to be really nice, better than your neighbor. Yeah, and you figured out how to sell 100 Habib yogurts a week. How will I get people to come and help me sell that Habib yogurt? You need to inspire somebody to say, okay, this Habib yogurt I'm selling for 500 naira. I'll give you 100 naira from every Habib yogurt. He's not the best distributor, but that 100 naira is his own earnings. If you tell him, oh, if you figure out how to sell 1,000 Habib yogurt, this is how much you will get. You've inspired the person. And then from there you grow. As your business grows, you enter new markets, you begin to pay more and more. And this, so we need to forget all these foreign companies. Like I know what I'm really saying here, because we keep looking at foreign companies as how to lead our own companies. No, because those guys, the American, if you look at the way the startup started, try to study their histories. They didn't start from good grounds too. They inspired people. They didn't have money. Check how much, like all these leaders, how much the first investments they got, or how much stock they give. So I'm not going to give you strategy on how to be flexible with equity or things. But when you begin to think like that, you know that if my Habib yogurt is 500 naira, I don't mind giving you 200 naira out of every Habib yogurt. That's how you think about equity. Yeah, because if you're not selling any Habib yogurt, we are not making money. You get, so it's about, a leader's ability is inspiration, just inspiring people that this is where I want us to be, this is where I think you're giving people purpose. That's what leadership means, and that's what entrepreneurship is all about fundamentally.
Awesome. I know we've talked, our time is almost over. I know we've talked about the bad things that have happened in the ecosystem, but there has been like a lot of good news in the ecosystem. You look like companies like Chowdeck, you look at OPay, Money Points, they've done something great like within the ecosystem this year. So, finally, I would like to get, what is that one innovation that has happened within the Africa ecosystem this year that you think is applaudable? Let's just go around in 30 seconds, please. Our time is up before we go into questions.
Yeah, so before let's use 10 seconds to answer that. Success for Chowdeck is not your success, or success for Money Point is not your success. OPay has $400 million investment. Money Point raised $56 million. So these people can afford to order a million POS for 60. The cost of importing a POS now is about 80K, and they're selling it for 25K. And you're seeing the Money Point POS everywhere. Does not mean they're successful, because they have to figure out how to pay back that difference to the investor. Do you understand? So success, don't compare yourself to another company as, oh, you're seeing it everywhere. That's what success means. Yeah. So that's something I really just want to emphasize. It's not really about thinking about yourself, understand your market, grow that way. You will just know the rest, because you will know when your business is great, and every other thing will just work.
Over to you, Beatrice.
The most successful thing I think we have done this year in the African ecosystem, especially when it comes to fundraising, is there have been a lot of smaller startups that have actually risen in the past 1 year. And if you follow the news, you also see, I think the problem you talked about when we need to focus on Nigerian investors is actually started increasing. So now more Nigerian startups are willing and open to actually get Nigerian investors rather than foreign investors. And I think that really helps, because she mentioned the part about corporate governance, which is a really good concern. And having an investor who is in the same country, understands the economy of the country you're in, and understands the peculiar challenges that country and that environment is facing, actually will be able to offer advisory and even directions better than a foreign investor who's just in it to maybe reap 10x of their investments. So I would say that's the most success we've actually achieved in the ecosystem recently.
Thank you. Two things that stood out to me, because I'm really passionate about micro and small businesses. A lot of the startups that are getting investments, doing really well, are people powering micro and small businesses. So Chowdeck, for instance, pretty much brings together restaurants in a particular location, makes it easier for them to make more sales. Even OPay, so now we're seeing more financial inclusion. The woman that you typically not buy from because you cannot transfer to her or pay with your POS is now willing to accept transfer, which means she's able to make more sales. So that's really fantastic for me because it means more micro and small businesses are growing. Secondly, we're seeing a lot more, so I think this would begin to kick off properly next year because we're seeing more designated funding for climate and sustainability businesses. So even this past year, I have worked with championing over 100 million grants to climate businesses, climate-based businesses, and hopefully we'll begin to see more education that actually speaks to the heart of the common man and actually transforms and gives us a better and safer environment.
Our time is up. We can't take no further questions. So thank you so much for having us, TMCon. I really appreciate this. And for myself to the panelists, thank you so much. And we'll see you next year.